I bought it. That was like a no-brainer for me. And when I had the desk for first mint and all the pencils that were available first mint, as a collector, it was one of the highest moments of just aspiration and gratitude. That was like a milestone, like, oh my goodness.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the VeVe Vantage Podcast. Today we have a very special guest and one of the most passionate VeVe collectors we've ever talked to. He also has an amazing specimen collection as well. As of early February 2024, he has 20 comics, mint 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 24 comics with first public mint. He has the 4 Disney pencils and the Disney animation desk, mint 41. That is super special. And many other collectibles and comics with first mint, last mint, and FA year mint as well. Join us to welcome VeVe Special Mint collector Charlie Fisher. In this wide-ranging conversation, we got really in-depth into his different special mint collecting strategies, the stories behind some of his most unique collectibles and comics, and the reason why he invested so much into VeVe. Let's get to it. Charlie, welcome to the VeVe Vantage Podcast. I recently came across your profile when you share how you acquired the secret rare Matte Gun deck collectible number 7. So you now have the full set, all 7. And that secret rare variant alone only has like 20 editions. But not only that, but also the way that you present your collection with all the graphics, sometimes text to tell all the stories behind the mint, really show how passionate you are and the fact that you put a lot of time and effort in it. And what's cooler is your Twitter account was created in December 2023, which is very recent, but you've been with VeVe since October 2021. We did all the research. So when I saw your account and your collection, I mentioned that to Mr. V in the last recording, and he knew about you. And so we decided that we had to get you on ASAP to learn more about your collecting background and how you got these really special mint. So thank you so much for joining us today.
It's my pleasure, Will. It's good to be with you and Mr. V.
Yeah. All right. So Mr. V, why don't you get started?
Yes. All right. Charlie, thank you very much for your time. And so let's start off with a bit about yourself. Can you share with our audience who you are and what you're all about?
Sure. Well, that's a loaded question, right? But I'm Charlie Fisher. I'm been married for 37 years, have 3 beautiful daughters and a grandson, and I enjoy life. I love people, and I'd like to empower the next generation. I love hosting international leadership summits in North America and just fanning the flame of leaders and future leaders, and just enjoying life and looking at all life has to offer and try to take the most out of it.
Wow, that's a very noble and yet daunting task that you set out to do. And thank you for being so selfless, because that's definitely a tall order. It's very interesting to hear that you're able to make a career out of that. Is that correct? Is this your career, or is this more of a hobby, or somehow you've been able to blend?
This is just a great question. This is a hobby. I do this as a hobby. As you've noticed probably on the VeVe, I'm not a flipper. I'm a collector, and I enjoy collecting rare mints. And so I don't do this to make money. I do it for the passion and for the excitement of collecting. And there's something about it when a set comes together. It's a very special thing. And so I love that. And getting the cooperation of the whole VeVe family is amazing. And so that's been a big part of it. I've had a lot of people in this forum that have been a big help, both in knowledge, their wisdom, their experience, and they've been willing to pass it on. And so I really have enjoyed the VeVe community.
Well, we're definitely glad that you're here and on the platform collecting and here on the podcast to be able to share all of this. So speaking of collecting, was VeVe the first, let's say, the first way that you were able to start collecting, or you collect anything in real life as well?
Well, VeVe was the first of the digital collecting. My life's background was I was enamored with collecting ribbons, medals, and trophies for different sporting events. And so So when I saw one of my aspiring athletes who had all these trophies from boxing along his thing when I was younger, I was a boxer, and I was actually went to the national championship finals. I was a Gold Glove champion, and I love collecting trophies and medals and ribbons. And back more when I was more competitive and just. But it was a lot of fun, and so that was kind of like the only real like major collecting growing up. Although I loved Spider-Man and Marvel and just superheroes. I've been a Spider-Man fan since I was real little, and so. But collecting for me, other than silver and gold coins, I had I was inherited a nice stamp collection and gold and silver coins from my mother-in-law. And so other than that, I basically just collected trophies and medals and ribbons for track and field and boxing and football, basketball, just loved sports.
Excellent. So what brought you over to VeVe? So it's a pretty big jump, right? We're most of us who started on VeVe, when we started on VeVe, more than likely the majority, I'd say a fair amount, really, did not have all that much exposure to digital collecting. And what was it for you? What did it in for you to say that I'm going to take this leap? Because I'd say that I have a pretty good pulse on who's who on the platform in terms of like collectors and who's targeting specific things. And I'd say I was pretty obsessed for like the better part of 2 years. And it wasn't until a little bit more recently that your name started to pop up on the market a little bit more with and I'm guilty. I do this as well, like with flex listings and things of that nature. But you definitely made a huge splash when you were making some moves. I mean, they were really big statements. And so what made it more of a comfortable transition for you into digital collecting? So that's the first part. And secondly, what made you decide to make that big splash more recently to say like, hey, I'm here?
That's a great question, Mr. V. And it's been a process, right? I started out, I was introduced to this by a minister named Jeremy, who said that he really felt that inspired to be part of VeVe. Now, when he told me that, I happened to look on it. I got signed up because I'm an investor. I invest in a lot of different things. I've invested in multiple things over variable countries and different things. Well, when he mentioned, I thought, well, great, here's an opportunity. And so so he introduced it to me. I got signed up, and the next thing you know, I saw a Daredevil #1 for $2,300, and the next one up was like $2,700. I thought, man, this sounds like a good deal. I'm going to buy this. And so I bought my very first Daredevil #1 for like $2,300, and I thought I had died and gone to heaven. And so when that happened, and so I ended up putting about 30 grand into it and bought a bunch of nice mints. And next thing you know, my company got very busy. And next thing I know, I ended up giving them to a couple pastors and just maybe kept a few. I think I kept a few ultra rare 252 Spider-Man, the first black suit. So I kept a few, and I just kind of left it alone for about a year. And then I once in a while I'd watch it and see how my buddies were doing. That I got their nice mint, and it's up to like $3,000 for the Daredevil. And next thing you know, it's 25 to 15,000. So my friend ended up selling it like for fractions of the cost. And I thought, I'd like to have back the very first mint that I ever bought. And when I saw him list it, I thought, I'm not going to call him and say, hey, I gave you that to you. I want a good deal. No, I just bought it from him. And since then it's doubled in price, but it's my first mint was the Daredevil #1. So that's how I got started. And it was only, you're totally right. It was only the last year that I got back in it, started buying more. I ended up having like 15 252s. I was buying mostly senior rare mints, very few collectibles, didn't have a clue about publisher dates, last mints, first mints. But there are people that come alongside me over the last year who helped educate me. And after kind of a significant kind of a blooper, it kind of got me thinking, I've got to change my strategy. And so my strategy went from just buying senior comics to buying first and last mints, publisher dates, writer and artist dates, and putting combination of sets together. And that started me off on a new path. And everything I learned before was like part of the process. So people like Last Mint, Kosher, the Commissioner, I mean, even flippers, you know, I learned from them. It's like you can learn from everyone on this platform. So that's been part of the process moving forward.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Hey guys, just a quick message. Every week, I, Mr. V, work over 20 hours to bring you the most non-BS VeVe content. English is my second language, and there were nights we recorded until 1 a.m. My brain stopped processing, and I naturally spoke Vietnamese to him, and it got pretty weird. But that's just how dedicated we are to this podcast. In return, we ask you to enter a gentleman agreement. We will continue working until 1 a.m. for you, but we ask you to subscribe to the podcast, leave us a rating, and tweet at us to tell us what you think, because those comments will ultimately help us to refine the content just for you. That's it. That's all you need to do. Let's get back to it.
It's definitely addictive, and I find it to be very difficult to go back to settling for anything less. That's what I found, and it really forces you to make those tough decisions when you might not want to. So like, let's say sometimes you might have to bail on something, on a set, if you know you can't complete it. Whereas meanwhile, like, some people may decide, you know what, I'll hold on to these and wait it out and hope that at some point, doesn't matter if it's a couple months, years, decades, who knows, maybe I'll be able to piece this set together. And so there's a lot of internal conflict going on, a lot of negotiating amongst collectors in the community. And then you kind of find, you know, you see some people's true colors. And so it's just like a real representation of the real world. But like, I think this, with it being digital, it really accelerates that process of finding out who's who. And so that I certainly noticed who you were before we had our first conversation. And it was something I really did admire, appreciate, and respect. You know, I wouldn't say that I was as big of a collector before VeVe, but my experience on VeVe definitely made me appreciate and all those things of respect and admire the effort that goes into curating these collections and especially the manner that you have. And it's definitely fun seeing you put those graphics up. I know you have some people help you out with those as well. So it's definitely a lot of fun seeing you, you know, accumulate and piece those things together. So, and I know that we've had a few conversations online as well on social media, and you shared, you know, all those things that you were pursuing in terms of comics and collectibles. And then you also did mention that once in a while you're open to finding those one-off sets, you know, maybe a different edition number that you notice that, hey, I can get the whole set, and this might not be something I'm generally looking for, but hey, it's available. So can you speak to that, and like, what makes you settle for those things, and what makes you comfortable enough to pursue those one-off sets as well as those significant year editions?
Well, that's another great question, Mr. B. And you know, it's interesting because sometimes I have no plan on buying anything when I go look. Okay, so it's very dangerous for me to go look at a mint. I don't think I was involved in the drop of, say, Lamborghini. So I'm thinking, I'm just going to go look at these nice Lamborghinis. And the next thing you know, I'm going for all the last mints, and people are helping me. Someone said, hey, this is up for sale. Hey, 76 Lamborghini's year that he died is up for sale. Hey, the corporation date's up for sale. Hey, the first this and the first that. So the next thing you know, I've got all the last mints, and now I'm going, oh man, what a high it was. and I wasn't even going there to get all the last mints. So when I did that, and I ended up with all the last mint 350 GT Lamborghinis, the senior and the rest of them, the very last one only $11.99. The last mint was $1,200, but it hadn't been released yet. And the next thing you know, someone won it in a draw, and they called me and says, "I know you're a collector. There's a lot of people that want this mint, but I know you collecting. You're not going to just flip this. So I want to sell it to you." And it's amazing over the years, or over the last years especially, people that have called me and said, "I want you to buy this because you really care for collectibles and for comics." And so here's the 1200 red Lamborghini, like it's called Rosso. And so I ended up buying it. And so I ended up having all four, I believe it is, last mints of the Lamborghini. And before you know it, I got all the 101s, all the 105s, and the 123s. And so it didn't start out that way, but now I got this amazing 350 GT collection. And that was one of the highs, putting that together, when I saw that the number 101 Lamborghini was the first show of the chassis number 101 was like their display model. And when I saw that, I thought, oh my goodness, this is rare. I collected all the 101s. And so I love that set. And Lamborghini has been a lot of fun collecting, and they've done well. And I expect them to do great in the future. But that's one example of stumbling on a page just to look and spending thousands and thousands of dollars buying 3 seniors, and I don't regret it. I love this set. The sets I have. I think I have 4 sets.
What would you say? And I'll let Will take the mic here in just a second after this last question. What would you say is the IP that's caught your attention the most?
Well, there again, that's a loaded question because there's so many amazing mints. There's so many opportunities, both for people that have money and people that don't. I mean, you could buy a mint for $2, or you could pay $20,000 for one, right? So it really, there's something for everybody. And so some of the creativity of putting 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1, and just different combinations together is fun. I find that exciting. And so in the process, there isn't one particular aspect, but there's so many amazing mints, both in the collectible world. Of course, I love Star Wars. If you've been watching the Star Wars I bought, people said, don't pay that for a 1977 Star Wars. That's too much money. Then you buy it, and people say, oh man, I was just going to buy that, and you snapped it up. And I had people tell me that. I was just getting my gems to purchase that, or I was hesitating, wondering, is it too much money? Then once I bought it, it's like, oh shoot, I should have bought that one, right? So The only times I really regretted buying anything was when I hesitated and actually didn't get it, and I should have. But I'm always happy that someone else gets it too. So it's like maybe that was meant for them. So I don't have to buy everything, but it's always nice when something nice comes together and you're going, oh, that was really sweet. So I love the Marvel ones. I've had multiple nice comics, but there's so many on the platform right now. But I like going for things that are more. It's not just finishing a set. It's finishing a set like a Disney 333 or a Lamborghini 105, 101, 123. It's finding nice mints. So I pay sometimes crazy, 10, 20, 30, 40 times floor, for the right mint. I'll pay it because you know what? There's only one of those. There's several of these comics that if you had to buy them the paperback, you're going to pay $20,000 up to 100. Some of them have gone over $1 million, and some of these I actually own the digital comic. I'm going, what? So the Iron Mans, the Avengers, there's so many others that are like, holy smoke, we got the digital copy of this, and no one else can own it. You own this rare set, and is exciting, and it's fun to collect them, and it's fun to look for them.
Yeah, it's always cool to think about that, right? Like for me, one thing that I and many other folks like really enjoy is just the fact that we can own the first appearance, like the first appearance on a blockchain of so many historically significant characters. Because I know, like, for example, you are a Spider-Man fan, right? Like Spider-Man came out in the early 60s. We can't even tell what is the first ever Spider-Man physical toy. Could have been like a statue somewhere. You would never know. But for digital collectibles, you know it's on a platform, and same to your comics. And that is something that I keep thinking about. That's why I'm so, optimistic and bullish on the future of VeVe. It's just because for physical toys, there's no way you can verify, okay, this is first, or, but for digital, we know that it's there, and some of it belong to our collections, which is even cooler. So my question for you is, when you first joined the app, you mentioned that you bought the Daredevil 1 and then the ASM 252 or something like that. It sounds like you came in and you already knew about these comic books. Is that correct?
I was just told, I knew very little about them, other than the fact that I was just told that look for seniors. You want to buy, right? Seniors. And I was not told when I first started that rarities, that if you got 616 Marvel, it's going to be worth more, or 1939 or 1922, or, it's like, I hadn't a clue. I didn't know diddly squat, right? Yeah. I just came in totally wet behind the ears, and the VeVe community has helped educate me. I'm still learning every day, but it's helped educate me. It's helped me make right choices. And of course, there's people that's like, here, Charlie, buy this. And later you kind of go, I might have paid a little bit too much for that. Like, it wasn't as big as they made it sound to be, but it's okay. That's part of the learning, right? Yeah. Now, I might have paid something too much, but 2, 3, 4 years from now, when I make 10 times on it, it's not going to be 10 times $100. It might be 10 times 1,000 or 100,000, right? So in the future, we're in a better position. I think we're positioned to do really well.
Yeah. So based on my research, you have, as of maybe 2 days ago, about 24 comic books where the mint is the first public mint. So, and I would love to hear your story on maybe one or two of them that is very special for you, or like maybe super hard for you to acquire.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you one story of the comic, and I'll tell you one story of a collectible.
Perfect.
The story of the comic was, I was looking, and I didn't know when I first started. I didn't know there was a vault value, or and a vault hunter, and I could actually go and search for these things without I literally spent hours and hours, like old school, just going through each thing. I didn't have a clue, right? So I probably found things that other people didn't find, because I took the time to go through the different, looking for things. But when the first time I saw the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I thought, oh my goodness, that's unique. I don't see that number very often.
Because Mr. V has all of them already.
And so I went ahead and I thought, I ran across, I think, Sun Chaser. It slips my mind right now, but he owned the SGT Sergeant Fury, and he owned 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I'm going, that's really cool. And he ended up owning like 4. And what would happen was, I'd buy their best one, pay probably good price, maybe more than I should have. And next thing you know, I get the second one, and he says, oh, there's no use keeping these other 2, because you got my favorite ones, and I needed the money to buy something else. So here you go. So I started with 4, then I had 7, then I had 10. I thought, well, I'm gonna go for 15. That's my goal. Next thing you know, I got 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mints, and I'm going, man, 11, 15 number ones. And one guy sold me 4, and he goes, you got the hammer now. You might as well take this one too. You might as well buy this one, because you've got the hammer. It's not going to do me any good. And so I thought, well, thank you. And he said it nicely. He wasn't like, oh man, now you got the hammer. You took all my best mints. No, he was happy to sell them to me. But it was like, so once I got to about 10, people saying, "Well, you got the hammer." Well, so I got to 20, and I thought, "Oh my goodness, like 20." And next thing you know, people come out of the woodwork say, "Hey, I've got some collectibles too, not just comics, but collectible 1, 2, 3, 4, 5s." Like, and I thought, great. So I ended up now I've got like 20, and there's like, there's a couple that are out there still that I might get. One of them I passed up, but the other one I might still get, and I got a Batman as well, and there's a Superman that I might get at some point. There we go. Now I've got 20, 1, 2, 3, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's like crud. Like, so do I need 30, or is there 30 out there? I'm sure there is. There comes a point I'm going, okay, I kind of reached my goal, so that's kind of like tucked away. There's a poster that kind of reminds me which ones I have, because I couldn't remember them all, man. But so I've got this nice poster, as you've seen Max has done, and I update it once in a while, and I'll probably have a few more before it's all said and done. But that was a fun collector. On the collectible side, this may be a question that you had down the road, but on the collectible side, I didn't start acquiring first mints because I thought, well, what if they got 41, or they got 176 or 186, and it's like, what if they end up giving the other ones away, and it kind of devalues your mint? So I wasn't too excited about the first mint. But then I thought, well, it's kind of nice to have a first mint, a last mint, publisher day, special writer, artist day, and special dates. So with collectibles, you still got the first and the last. You can still pick up interesting dates and stuff. So I thought, Disney's 60th anniversary is coming. I'd like to buy the pencil, look for what the 41s. So next thing you know, I'm collecting all the 41 pencils, and in one of them, the first mint was 91. I thought, well, what's that about? I said, Charlie, it's not 41. You're never going to find it. It's 91, and it's available, So I go buy it. So the only one that VeVe hasn't released yet is Chosen number 2. And so it's in their vault. I'm going, so Chosen 41's in their vault. It's not coming out unless they give it to someone or do it, and then I have a chance to buy it. And so I was thinking, okay, these pencils are really nice. Walt Disney, I've got Walt Disney 1901 when he was born. I got Walt Disney 1966 pencil when he passed away. I got Walt Disney 1955 when the
parks opened.
Yeah, when it all came together. So they opened up the Disneyland. So here we are now. I've got all these pencils, and I hear the desk is coming. Someone said something about the desk. And what I'm about to share with you guys was one of those moments that, as a collector, just took my breath away. And the desk came up, and I'm looking on it. I was busy with my corporation and stuff. I didn't even do a drop. Next thing you know, I look at the desk, and on the desk, I see the 5 pencils. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, they're all on the desk in a little glass. And I thought, I never thought that I would see the pencils on the desk. Had no idea. So when I saw the pencils on the desk, all the ones I played, the 4 of the 5 first mints, I bought it. That was like a no-brainer for me. And when I had the desk for first mint and all the pencils that were available first mint, as a collector, it was one of the highest moments of just aspiration and gratitude. And there's a million other nice pencils, right? There's a million other nice pencils and collectors that have done amazing with them. But for me, that was like a milestone, like, oh my goodness. And I wasn't that smart. I didn't buy them all knowing that I'd be buying the desk with all the pencils on the desk. It just happened. And so a lot of times it's more like divine intervention. I'm going, hey, I'll take it, right? And so that was two stories, the sergeant and the which is more of a number one. The first mint Disney pencils were amazing. And as far as the first mint, what was my favorite first mint? I got off on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5s, but my first mint, probably one of the nicer one, 2 of them, is either Avengers or Iron Man. Those are 2 of my favorite sets.
Wow. So you have when I looked at your collection, I think my favorite one would be the animation desk and all the pencils too, because the other ones, some, like, most people will get it and some you have to explain to, but when you look at the desk and all the pencils and all, like, the first public mint, you just know it, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
It was a real special thing. And so there's a lot of people collecting for many different reasons, Will and Mr. V, and a lot of people are ticked off. They're mad at this, they're mad at that, they're upset with this. But during this time, I'm learning strategies of how to have a lot of fun in VeVe, while everyone's a lot of people are upset with this, upset with that. Why aren't this happening? But while they're whining and complaining, I'm collecting these amazing mints and sets. And so it really is, after many years of, I've been on this planet for a while, is like, there is such a great opportunity in VeVe. If we get our eyes off the problems and start looking for solutions. And I've had my ups and downs. I've had some disappointments that are like, oh my goodness, that was a real blooper, right? What was I thinking, right? I bought things. I ended up buying something and it was right next to the one I wanted to buy, thinking I was buying the one I was going to buy, and it was the wrong one. I've done that,
really?
Right?
Wow.
And I've mispriced a valuable mint that I thought I was listing for 10,000, and I listed it for 1,000. Okay. Now that really stunk, right? That hurt, right? But you move on, right? And that's what started me with the new strategy and starting to say, you know what? That's going to happen. It was during an emergency phone call. My mind was on something else. And it happened to be AF-15 Spider-Man.
Wow.
And so when you've got something that's now selling for 10 grand, and I had it for 10 grand, and I forgot to add another zero. Oh, wow. And I was instant in the phone call. So when something like that happens and you don't give up, you don't quit, you don't whine and complain and say, oh, well, I did text the guy, I did email him, I did everything I could, but you know what? He ended up selling it, making several $1,000s on it. Well, good for him, right? Maybe he needed the money for a hospital or a new car or whatever. But for me, it was a learning experience, and it helped change my strategy moving forward, and to be able to be a better collector and be more careful when I'm listing some.
Wow. So speaking of strategy, being a business owner and delving into the minor and major details of operating a business, and you briefly did mention that you're not really focused on the shortcomings of the company, VeVe in particular. So how do you keep from doing that? Does it cross your mind at all when you notice something like, oh, have they thought about this, or oh, this has happened to me before and I've handled it this way? I know, and I respect, and I say this with respect to both the all people involved with the company and to our group here discussing this. But I was just wondering what comes to mind when you notice these areas for improvement.
Well, you want to be part of the solution, and if you get an opportunity to speak into it and to be able to share. When Avengers, I had just bought Avengers. It's what brought me connected with the shareholder, with the shareholder. Not connected with any shareholders, not yet. So when it brought me to one of my best friends on VeVe, right, and someone that's helping me a million times, and so it's when they sold me Avengers 1, and he said, hey, I'm gonna for free, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to create a poster for you. And so I had 186, and I had a few other nice Avengers. I have a nice, I think a last mint and a few other nice VeVe mints. And he put together this nice poster. Well, within a couple months, they have a Christmas party, and they give away 185. And so my VeVe 186 ends up becoming having a lower mint. And of course, mine was the cover, which I like better than the one I think that came out was like 185, was a rare. But I kind of felt like, okay, I know that VeVe said that they've got all these mints, and not to be ignorant, we know that the chances of them getting rid of the other ones were there. I just looked for a solution for the situation. So right away, I did write a post. I didn't expect it to get almost 19,000 views to date, right? And it got up to 16,000 fairly quick. And it wasn't a complaint stuff. I was looking for solutions. And we did come up with, a few people put their heads together and did come up with some possible solutions for people like myself, like I've only got 40, 40 first mints or so, right? But there's people with double, triple, at least double, almost triple that, right? So I'm thinking not just myself, but what about the other people that invested in them? And so there's a few things that people like Culture, Max, and others who come up with some ideas. And one of them was a gold boulder around a first mint to say, this is the first available official first mint that VeVe put out. So we're not saying that no one else is going to come up with a lower mint. We're just saying, let's just recognize people that they're helping build VeVe. They pay premiums for these first mints. So when one's given cheaper and it's like, oh, you idiot, I got one lower than you, and it was given to me at a cocktail party or whatever, it's like, that's fine. I don't mind doing that, but let's just recognize the official first mints for myself and the multitude of other people that like collecting first mints, or a gold ribbon next to the mint number. And my graphic artist Max thought of that, right? And so that would be a great solution to, even if I had to pay for it, say, let's just recognize the fact that it's the first official mint. Not that there's not going to be lower ones that are going to be valuable, but at least give people who kind of broke open the importance of a first mint. What, you're going to wait till it's number one before you say, hey, it's a great deal? What is it, 201 for 30,000 or whatever? There's 50,000 and 60,000 editions, right? So you got a 60,000 edition. That's the last mint, but the first one on that, 201 or whatever it is. Let's just recognize it. So those were part of the looking for a solution rather than just whining and complaining about it. 19, almost 19,000 views. There definitely is. I'm not the only one that'd like to see a solution other than what's present.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I think, not to speak out of turn, but and I say this respectfully, but I think that the manner in which you collected and the way that you showcase everything with the graphics has definitely elevated your position in the community. I think I would say, and with that comes notoriety and respect, appreciation, and all of those things. And people tend to listen to those who are a little bit more at the forefront, who bring themselves to the forefront. They're a lot more vocal, such as yourself, and that when you do speak on something, it carries more weight. Now, that's not to say that collectors who don't pursue sets and lowest public mints in the manner that you have don't matter, right? But we can't ignore a collection like yours on the platform. And even like with the Mint Hunters group that we're in, there are some heavy hitters in there. And I think every single one of those people, they put the time, they've put the money, they put the energy, immersed themselves, their being into this collecting process and believed in it and believe in it still to this day. And when they speak, it's hard to ignore what's being said. So I think that with that post that you shared, you were a catalyst in enabling not only other big collectors, but also the ones who may not have as loud of a voice in the community to be able to share those ideas. So I can definitely see now where you're coming from with your background in terms of giving a voice to anyone that you can, and being a positive influence. So that's a breath of fresh air.
Thank you, Mr. V. Appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think we've touched quite a bit on what you've been doing on the platform, and how you've engaged with the community. Now, I'm wondering what makes Charlie Fisher tick. So what kind of content do you consume when you're not on the platform?
Again, that's a great question, and this might come at a little bit of surprise, but I am a executive producer of films. I'm working on 2 right now. We just finished one here last year, and I'm working with Unveil Studios, who the Koeman brothers, and presently I wrote a movie, and the Koeman brothers helped finish the script on Actress for Rent. It's a romantic comedy that's coming out, and also helping with a film called Daniel, which is based on in the Old Testament, the Daniel, who was one of the Nebuchadnezzar's wise men, and so it's a powerful movie based on the dream. And so recently I bought 333 Mickey Mouse, the dream Mickey Mouse, and so 333 and 1955. And so dreaming is really important. Walt Disney had a dream, and so Nebuchadnezzar had a dream, and he asked his wise men to not only interpret the dream, but to tell him what he dreamed. And Daniel, Hebrew, ended up not only telling him his dream, what he dreamed, but then interpreting his dream. And so it's a powerful story of passion and the wisdom of Daniel, how he had a ungodly king, but the king honored him and respected him because he behaved himself wisely among the community, among the people. And so it just shows, it's a great example of how people can conduct themselves, be who they are, be real, and be authentic, and allow people to see you for who you are, and be transparent, and try to help others. And so I'm looking forward to this film. Part of it's already been completed, and so that's coming out. And so I'm looking forward to that, and just in the process of acquiring all the resources necessary to do a film like that, and my film Actors for Rent, which I'm excited about as well. So that's one of the things I do. Any questions on that before I move on to the other hobbies?
For not necessarily, however, it'd be awesome if you could share that with us, and so that we can share that with the rest of the community if you're inclined to do so.
Sure.
I think it's great to be able to celebrate people's work, both on and off the platform.
Oh, perfect. And I love that too. I love to get to know people better. And so the movies are fun. I'm excited about that. You share a fun story that can impact people's lives. I mean, how many movies have impacted our lives over the years? So part of it is I love watching movies. I don't tend to have as much time watching movies since I got involved in VeVe, but it's been kind of my thing, right? And the other thing I love doing content is watching pickleball and playing pickleball. I got involved in pickleball, and I got a daughter that's like an advanced pickleball player, and the others are love to play too. And I got to where I was playing it at an advanced level in pickleball, and it's a lot of fun. So great activity. Getting
more trophies and awards, I see.
Well, when you're playing pickleball, there's so much that there's a real on the court. Was that in or out? Are you going to give them the benefit of the doubt, or are you going to take the benefit of the doubt, right? Because it's like, give or take a quarter of an inch, it's your call. Yeah. So are you going to call it for the person that made a good shot, but maybe it's a quarter inch out? But man, that was a good shot. Or are you going to call it out, or are you going to call it in? So there's things like that you kind of need to be less competitive and more, hey, take one for the team, enjoy the game, and just get out there for the exercise and the community. It's a great community. So pickleball's a lot of fun, and so that's important. And I like watching Ben play. Different ones. You watch him, and they're going, "Oh my goodness, Ben Johnson! Like he's amazing, right?" And so he's always helping share his skills, share how he wraps his paddle, share how he does different things. So that's a lot of fun. Pickleball's been great. I love playing ping pong. And I've been a good ping pong player over the years. So unless someone plays a lot, they usually don't beat me unless they're really good or play consistently, right? So pickleball is like a big ping pong table, Yeah. And so it's a lot of fun. So that's something, and you can do with your family, you can do with your friends, and so that's something that I enjoy doing. And we have a family night once a week with our grandson, where we do a movie night, and we go with him, make popcorn, have dinner, and watch a movie together. So that's something we've done for several years since he was real little, and he always looks forward to doing a movie night. So that's just a few things that you know, when I'm not on a board seat in an executive closing, I'm or looking for a mint. I love spending time with family and playing pickleball.
That's really cool that you are able to spend time with your kids and your grandkids like that. And I like how you also play pickleball. And I think like going back to the concept of family and people getting together, that's one of the rare sports that people from different generations can join, because I and my girlfriend we play pickleball maybe like 3 times. And so we when we first learned about it, we were just like walking around the park and we see these. So I'm not sure about your area, but for my area, and I believe like most of the places around the Northeast where I'm at, the folks who play pickleball are like tend to be a little bit on the older side. So when we get to the tennis court early in the morning, we don't have nets, right? And it's weird playing pickleball using a tennis net. So we always have to wait for these folks, these seniors to come and borrow their net. And some of them, like you said, are very competitive. Like they would try to educate us, but also like they are super competitive. So they'll be like, oh, when I'm serving, you have to stand close to the kitchen, and like the concept of like in and out is just 1 inch, and
Yeah.
These old ladies are so competitive, they will like swear at each other, but like in a very like friendly and humorous way. So I can definitely see that. And it's cool that you get to connect that with your kids, because that is like a multi-generational sport.
It is.
Yeah, my favorite sport is frisbee and soccer, but then I can't play that with my older family members, right? But like for pickleball or even ping pong, anybody can do it.
Right. No, and that's a good point. And it's fun doing something. That pickleball is supposed to be the fastest growing sport in the world.
Yep.
Right. So even John McEnroe and some of these great tennis players, it's Agassi, it's like Agassi, like they're getting on there and still play really well, but they're learning a new skill with pickleball. But it's fun watching like these famous tennis players actually get out there and play pickleball. It's like fun to watch too, right? Fastest growing sport in the world right now.
Yeah. And so to those who are listening who might not be familiar with pickleball, I mentioned the concept of the kitchen, which is this area that is close to the net, but you have to play to experience it. So my next question for you is, I have done some research about you, and you work in the corporate world where you specialize in like financing and those kind of things. So you probably have worked with a lot of entrepreneurs and businessmen, right? What do you think about Dan and David as businessmen and VeVe as a company?
Well, they have done amazingly well. I think Disney alone, over $100 million on a mobile phone, right? Like, I mean, that's crazy, right? That's amazing, and it's growing, right? So they've done amazing. My 2 business partners one's an international banker, the other one is one of North America's top fund managers. So I surround myself with very skilled strategists, financiers who understand the digital currency world, that understand the importance of moving forward in this era that we're in. And so we all can learn from each other. And so there are opportunities. There's always opportunities to increase our platform, to get more people aware of what we're doing, to opening it up. It's important for slow growth, and not get too crazy. But I think there's a collaboration on some of these things to get more people involved. Even when you do a drop and you got a $20 drop, and the next thing you know, the drops, people are selling their mint for $2-3. There's ways around that would help promote higher levels of purchases and people holding on to their mints better. And so I think in the long run, I think we're going to see a lot of positive changes that are going to help with those things. But in the short term, if all you're looking for is a specialty mint, that leaves a lot of numbers out there that are like, they release 75, 100 mints and only 4,000 sell. There's got to be there's got to be solutions around that to where more people are participating, and there's incentives to keeping your mints to not drop below the drop price. And I've gone to like say Yoda and bought the floor, like great, these are $2 150 mints, and I think if you went and looked at them now, you're not going to see a $100.50 mint or $2 mint. I don't know how many I bought, but I did a little sweep, right? So there's always opportunity. I mean, anyone can afford a $2 mint. So I would just, encourage people, hey, you know what? If you can't afford a senior, there's a lot of $2 mints that could be worth a small fortune in the future. So sweep go pick up some, right? Find one that you like and pick it up. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities right now in VeVe to do stuff like that. So from a financial standpoint, we come alongside corporations and we help accelerate their company, either through mergers, acquisitions, or strategies. And if they need a cash injection to reach a certain goal, then we look at that too. And so there's opportunity for them to expand into the next market, then it's always good. So I'm sure David's he's a sharp guy. He's done well for himself. I'm sure he's got a lot of good advisors around him. And so for me, I've got top quality international bankers and fund managers. And so they help me to see things that I wouldn't see.
Obviously, you are a big investor in VeVe. What do you envision VeVe in the next couple of years?
Well, again, the comment was made earlier, whether it was you, Will, or Mr. V, if you're buying mints for today, right, it could maybe it's discouraging, or you're holding on to a mint that has gone down or something. I've seen mints, the next thing you know, they were a few $100. Next thing you know, they're over 1,000 or something. And it's like, oh my goodness, I sold that, or I wish I would have bought more. I believe we're going to wish we bought more in the next 2 years, that there's going to be an acceleration and people are going to be coming onto this platform, and the people that have waited and been patient. And there's a lot of people that have invested more money than I have, maybe not so much in the last year, but over the course of 3 years. But in that sense, they're going to go, oops, I got out too soon, or I should have been buying more. I should have been paying more attention to where the market was going. I should have been paying more attention to what Star Wars or Disney was doing, or Marvel was doing, or DC was doing, or, and I missed it. I could have bought that mint last year for $1,000, and now they want 10, 20 for it, right? I believe that we're going to see such an increase that we're going to look back at this day and go, oh my goodness, I should have taken advantage of the law, the little leg in the VeVe. And so if you notice what I've done the last year, I paid good price for a lot of mints, but good price in the sense of today. I believe the future, what I paid for a lot of these mints, publisher mints, first and last mints, special rarity dates, I really believe that the value is going to increase considerably, and that VeVe has a great future ahead. My hat's off to David and the team. What a great opportunity that's been presented to us. And I'm just along for the ride, and love it. Love collecting, love meeting the VeVe community, love learning from each other, and continue to do so. Like I said, I've had mentors like Kolscher, and Max has been great, and Commissioner, and different ones have just spoken. Mr. Champ, hope they don't mind me mentioning their names, but it's like, you know what? I've learned from people that have been at it longer, and where they say this person or that person, this mint represents this, and you look at it and go, hey, it does. Wow, that's pretty good. So all these things have been part of the looking for solutions, looking for reasons to succeed, not looking for the dirt. Try to look for the gold in what we have, in the opportunity we have. Yes, we all bought mints in the past, and the prices dropped, but now take advantage of the next season. And so the bull market, when it hits, people are going to be wishing they kept. Guarantee there's a lot of mints that have been sold. They're going to wish they kept and go, oops. And I've done that. I've sold a few mints I wish I kept. And so, but less and less, the more I get into this, Very few do I sell. I've sold, and I try to, if I've got a special mint that it's not going for a set, and someone calls me and says, Charlie, I want to finish my set. I've got 2 of these. I need yours for the set. It's a great mint. I don't need it. I don't need to keep it. Like, great. It's a great mint. If I can help someone finish their set, and I've been able to do that here on multiple occasions where I don't need to keep that mint. It's always nice to help other people finish their sets. And if I have an opportunity to do that, I try to do that.
Yeah, I love your example of finding gold in the dirt because, for example, I know from speaking to our previous guest, there's a huge competition for Star Wars mint, like especially the 1977. And multiple of our previous guests, and also you two, are really interested in Star Wars. Maybe it was a part of your childhood growing up or things like that.
Yeah.
And so I love the example of you seeing things as opportunities, because even like things the prices are so low today, there's still a very fierce competition, especially in Star Wars. So one example was Sean from Comics and Crypto. He won an auction for the Luke Skywalker lightsaber mint 1977, I think. And then so we had him on, and we also had the runner-up, who his name is Robert. His VeVe name is Hush Show, and he's also a huge Star Wars fan. So or maybe he's like third or something like that. But a lot of these guys compete a lot for this mint, and they always regret not paying just a little bit more, because the thing about this mints going to you guys, like folks like you guys are not in a hurry to sell anytime soon. You collect because you grew up with these IPs, and now you collect because you love it, you enjoy it. It brings you back some memories. So a lot of these mints will probably never see the market again for at least a very long time. So that's what makes it super competitive and super interesting for me and Mr. V looking at it from an outsider perspective.
Yeah, and I had an opportunity. I bought Vader 1977, and I bought Boba 1977. I bought Yoda 1977, and I was gonna buy another Boba rarity 1977. I thought, I slept on it. Oops. Next morning, whether it was whoever bought it, is like, oops. Now I ended up buying 1978 instead, but it really comes down to, there's been a few times I go, oops, I hesitated. Now for $400, I could have owned another 1977. I had one more on my list, right? So those things happen, and so you step up. And I would encourage people, pay for a quality mint. Not close. It's nice to get something close, but it's a difference between 1977 and getting something that's, 1977, it's like, it's still nice. It kind of looks kind of cool still, or there's a 0 between the 19 and the 77, or 6 between the two. But there's something about getting a grail that is powerful, right? And so a lot of people sell mints to buy the grail, which I get it, right?
Yeah.
But it's nice to be able to keep the good mints, and because every time you sell something, you lose a little bit on the exchange. I wish I would have kept them. Now looking back, I wish I would have kept some rather than selling them so I could buy something else. It's great to have opportunities to buy some high-end mints, and a lot of people are holding on to them, right? But there's still a lot more out there that people go, where did you find that? How did you come across that? It was just sitting there, right? I'm serious. I've bought a lot of stuff just by hunting, and it's there. And I'm going, oh my goodness, there's a 7.7, and it's just people just overlooked it. Or 1977, people just overlooked it. No one bought Yoda. I bought Yoda in 1977. It was like for $400 or something, right? Oh, that's too much, or $500, right? Try to get me to sell it for $500 today, right? I'm not going to sell it for $500. So sometimes step up. If you see something that's valuable, it's like, yeah, it's worth taking a little extra and saving for it.
Yeah. So my last question for you is, you mentioned a lot about strategy, and as a specimen collector, you probably need to have some gem management because VeVe will always have drops going to years into the future. So how do you manage your gems? And this is like a multi-part question, because do you have like a threshold of you accepting and then not accepting an offer? Because sometimes people can come to you and say, hey, my mint is special because A, B, C, D, E. And then sometimes your BS detector goes off a little bit. Like, hey, I like it, but it's not what it is, you know. Do you have like some rules that you always go by, and how do you determine when to stop pursuing something, and how do you manage your gems?
Well, that's a good question. And you know, Will, it really is. There's times where people think, oh, I had one person say, you're a shark. You're buying all the good mints, right? And I'm going, I just show up to the drop like everybody else, and they show up, right? And it's like, oh, you bought that. How'd you find that? Well, I'm actively hunting, right? And so it's a good, I mean, come on. VeVe's put out a lot of crazy good mints. I mean, it's amazing. And they're great opportunities. So here's what made the difference for me, right? When I was just looking for a senior or looking for the price to drop, it's not really a strategy. It's kind of a strategy, but it's wait for the price to drop. That's your strategy. It's like, okay, you're really thinking long term here. I think it's the Japanese that plan for 200-year business plan, right? Not, tomorrow. They have a 200-year business plan, So how about some long-term thinking here? So what changed it for me was when I look at a mint, I do my research. So note to self, I do my research. I find out background, timing. And sometimes I do this minutes before. Sometimes I do it hours before. Sometimes I do it once it's already the drops happened, like with the Lamborghinis, right? I wasn't involved in the Lamborghini drop. I wasn't involved in a few other drops. I ended up owning a lot of it. So I look for rare mints, first and last mint. I look for publisher date. I look for writer year, birth year, and I look for artist birth year and significant things about that mint. Now, like for my Iron Man, okay, I have first and last mint. There's one of them I don't have. I think CB1 has one of them. Let's see which one was it. I think he might have the publisher date. So I got the first and last. I'd have to pay a fortune for his publisher date, which I've been tempted to do it a few times, but and I've got Tony Stark's birth year, right? 1970, right? I've got writer, artist, so I look for 1922, I look for 1939, I look for writers, artists, numbers, and then I collect them. So now you've got a real powerful set. Everyone has the opportunity. Now, I'm into that for a few $1,000s. Try to buy it for a few $1,000. It's a few bucks. I mean, that's still an investment. It's not like it's cheap, but that's expensive to a lot of people, and I get that. But I would never sell it for a few $1,000s, right? But that's because I bought them one at a time. But I had a strategy in place. So when I go into a drop, if people don't have a strategy, I've already got my strategy in place. So I'm going for it. Oh man, that's $1,000 for that publisher date. It's like it's sold. It's bought. Say goodbye to it right now, right? Because in 10 years, that publisher date could be worth $100,000, right? So I look for things that are rare and unique. And so I set my strategy in that. And so with other mints, I look for a set that's available. How rare is it? If it's a real rare set that's come on the market, I'm willing to pay more money for it because it's unique.
Do you have like a max threshold of if it's 20x above floor, then I'm not going to touch it. But anything below, then I can think about it. Do you have that number?
Well, man, I've paid for a publisher date or for a last mint. If the floor is like $3 or something, I mean, I've paid so far above floor because I see the value, right? I don't look at the floor. I look at the ceiling, right? The ceiling is where I'm going. And the ceiling, we haven't even scratched the surface to what the ceiling is going to be yet. And so I think when people look back and they're going, oh my goodness, like, how did you know that mint was going to be worth that kind of money? Well, it's speculation, but at the same time, you're looking long term. You're not looking short term. And so people that are looking short term, it's like, oh, that's a lot of money. You know, the floor is only $10 and they want 1,000 for it. Well, but it's a rare mint, and that rare mint is one day going to be could be worth a fortune. So I look at the potential and the future, not the present situation. And if it's a rare mint, guess what? You got the only one. You got Tony Stark, 1970 Iron Man. There's not two Tony Stark #1 1970 birth year, right? There's not two 1939 Tony Stark mints. There's not two first and last Tony Stark Iron Man #1. I mean, the guy's a rock star, you know? I mean, come on. Like, you've got Tony Stark's first, last, publisher date, you know, all those different things that you could get in a mint. Like I said, I haven't bought the publisher date for that one, but it's at some point I might have it too. But all those things are important. Avengers, you know, I think I own pretty much everything on Avengers. There's several of the comics that I pretty much have got the first, last, publisher date, writer, artist, you know. They're all available for everybody. It's not like I've got some David's giving me a phone call and say, hey, I've got all these things. You know, no, I don't have special favors. But what you do is when you build a strong community, people say, Charlie, I picked up this and that, you know, and I got it for you. I know you collect these. It's like, great. So I've got these people, you know, that you treat well, you give them a good, decent price for their mints. They're working. It's like they're working for you. So when you treat people well, you pay them, leave $1 on the table. Don't try to always, you know, plead and beg to get prices down. You know, no, it's like, I've had people say, well, I went to call to see if I can negotiate a better deal. And next thing I know, you bought the mint. You know, it's like, yeah, well, that was your first mistake, right? I knew it wasn't going to last at that price, right? So there's a time to look for cheaper deals once it's been on the market for a month or even a week, but not the day of the drop. If you've really done your homework, you realize that thing's not going to stick around for $500 very long, right? So you can wait and hopefully maybe negotiate $100. But while you're doing that, Clever Jerk's going to be buying it. Charlie Fisher's going to be buying it. Some of these big, you know, last mint's going to be buying it. There's a time to call and to try to text or message someone, and there's a time to just get her done, right? So that's just a little bit of the strategies when it comes to buying and selling, and there's times where I bought and it's kind of like, oh my goodness, that was a ballsy move, but that's part of the strategy is to be able to get mints that no one else can ever get. Once you own them, it's in your control. If someone wants to come and offer me a set because their granddad was on the movie set and they want the whole set from me, and you know, if there's a story like that where they can share their passion, and it's like, whoa, of course, you know, this is your dying wish, you know. It's like, okay, you know, I'm open for stuff, but I think it really is buy what you love, buy what you believe in, and what you see a future in. And then you never regret it, right? It's like, I don't regret it.
Yeah. Charlie, it's been a pleasure to learn more about your collecting stories, about what you collect, your passion. I love your mentality of you know, thinking about not finding dirt, but finding gold. And your long-term thinking has been very helpful as well. And so we really appreciate you spending the time with us today. And we want to wish you the very best with your movies, your time with your family, because that is the most important thing. And we really hope that you have a growing and meaningful VeVe collection.
Well, thank you, Will. I appreciate that very much. And one of the questions I've been asked in my closing comment was why I bought the recent Mr. Trouble #7. Very rare, only 20 on the market. And I first bought 77 and 777. And so when I went over to the senior and saw #7 was on the floor, it was like, I'm going to get it, right? So I was able to put 777 and 777 together and call it Lucky 7, right? And so that was fun. That was a lot of fun. And Max went right on it, got the poster out right away. But yeah, there's a little bit of a risk. There's a little bit of a gamble, and I've got my eye on more. I've got my eye on some more. So stay tuned. I hope to show you some more. Waiting for certain things to take place, but it's a lot of fun. I'm having a great time. I appreciate your time, and thank you for having me on your show and your podcast. And Mr. D, thanks for all the great questions. And it's been a lot of fun being with you.
Same here. We really appreciate it. And this is it's not the end, right? We've got a lot more to look forward to.
Yes, we do. We do.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Charlie. We hope to have you on again at some point in the future to talk more about your newer collectibles and comics. And we hope you have a good night.
Thank you, guys. It's been great.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Bye, guys.
Bye for now.
That is it, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have enjoyed the episode today. And if you have, remember that gentleman agreement. We will continue working until 1 a.m. just for you. But in return, we ask you to subscribe to the podcast so that you don't miss out on the actionable and valuable insights, everything VeVe and OMI related. Don't forget to give us a rating and tweet at us to let us know what you think about the podcast so that we can refine the content better just for you. Thank you so much. We hope to see you again next time. Peace.